Yeah, look, I've harped on this a lot in the past, and I'm going to continue talking more about it because more and more I've seen men who just can't dial in on lower doses. They've done everything. They've taken their dose down to 90 milligrams a week of a long ester. It's like, yeah, the sexual function's a little bit better and they've got better erections, but their anabolism is abysmal. They have a lot less energy. They lose their confidence, and all of the TRT benefits that they got when they got on testosterone and got their testosterone levels really high have just fucking gone away. The one thing that I found is once you go higher in doses, a lot of the ratio stuff and a lot of the problems that people have just tend to go away after maybe a period of side effects initially, but then your body getting used to it. People have to remember estrogen receptors, as an example, when they saturate, they ultimately begin to desensitize, and you do have an aromatization threshold. You know, like there are points at which, like with prop as an example, if you dose very, very high dose prop, call it 100 milligrams every other day or every third day or something, there's going to be a point which you can't aromatize all of that testosterone. Aromatase enzymes actually have a threshold. But in these cases where people just can't dial in on regular doses, 150, 175, they've gone down to 90 milligrams a week. I've seen people go down to 60 milligrams a week. I mean, these are like crazy low numbers. 250 to 300 milligrams a week of a long ester, something like testosterone anaphate, kind of in the middle between the short and longest of our esters, you know, longest of the esters that we typically use, like cypionate. That ends up doing the trick. But why? I mean, is it as simple as more testosterone? Like the more testosterone you have, the better the feels are and libido and erections are? Well, not really. There are a couple reasons that higher dosing testosterone in these people that can't dial in really gets them to dial in and feel good. First of them is endothelia optimization. Second of them is DHT conversion, more DHT conversion, and thus, you know, for people that are estrogen sensitive, more estrogen control at the genetic level. Thirdly, though, some people are just going to require more estrogen. You know, I have had guys that like they can't dial in on these lower doses or even medium doses because they're very in shape and they don't drink and they're just physiologically like very fucking primed, and so they don't aromatize a lot. They don't aromatize enough. So those guys need a higher estrogen milieu with sufficient androgens, specifically DHT, and then the sexual system is great and they feel great and they're anabolic and they look great. Then there's like exogenous test is not akin to your normal test. You know, I can't prove this anywhere, but I've heard a lot of TRT doctors talk about this and I've seen it myself. I mean, the 1,000 nanograms per deciliter you may have with exogenous testosterone is not acting the same way as 1,000 nanograms per deciliter naturally. And then there's neurotransmitter health. Yeah, neurotransmitter health. So long as you're healthy enough to tolerate the pretty high levels of testosterone and maybe higher levels of estrogen, the effect on neurotransmitters, serotonin specifically, but dopamine as well, I mean, is going to be very, very pronounced with higher doses of testosterone. And you're going to fucking physically feel better. You're going to cognitively, mentally, and in terms of happiness and your mood, you're going to feel a lot better. So here's the video, boys, on 250 to 300 milligrams to test, high dosing test, why it works for some. I'm going to break it all down. Before we start the video, specials on product. Look, Cortex Labs is a performance optimization and hormone consulting company for men, mainly around testosterone, TRT, and nootropics. Probably the biggest special of the year, we run these like 2-3 times a year, is that the Torque Nootropic Stack, my brainchild for energy motivation, kind of all day brain power, is buy one, get one free. Yeah, it's BOGO right now, boys. You don't want to miss this. Code for that is Torque BOGO. You can find the code and the link for this product down in the description of this video. Take 2 capsules. Get to work, have good brain performance, and thank me later. I just had one spot free up. So if you need to hire me for a 1 month, a 3 month, a 6 month, or a 1 year one-on-one package where we overhaul everything, optimize your testosterone, whether it's TRT or natural, design protocols for brain function, full-on optimization, you can book me in under a minute at livecortex.com. Look, there's no shortage of posts like this. Is 200 milligrams a week too much to start? Now, by the way, 200 milligrams a week is kind of bare minimum to start for TRT. Now, look, I mean, guys are going to be able to tolerate higher doses, and some guys are not going to initially be able to tolerate higher doses. Look, it's a fucking shock to your system. You're getting definitely super physiologic levels of testosterone, getting higher estrogen levels probably than you've ever had in your life. There's going to be some changes that take place, and it's going to make you think that you can't tolerate it. Now, also, people that are profoundly unhealthy, vascular issues, they drink too much, they smoke, they eat like shit, they don't sleep well. I mean, you're more likely to have side effects on higher doses of testosterone, and it'll make you think that this isn't the dose for you or higher isn't the dose for you. But the point is, there's a lot of posts like this because the gospel has been 200 is a cycle or a pre-cycle, mini cycle kind of thing. This is why you have problems on TRT. Your dose is too fucking high. Let's just lower it down to 60 milligrams a week, shall we? We'll just walk around skinny wimps, you know, with no confidence, and we'll just be walking around like naturals. All you're doing is being a natural at like, you know, 70 milligrams a week. You got guys in the comment section repeating this nonsense. Yes, that's a lot to do in one shot. One shot a week is not good. Might be good for you. I mean, I've seen people that are doing dailies switch to once a week or even twice a week and have a much better experience. Guy goes, I would split it into 2 doses and start at 100 milligrams a week and don't take the anastrozole. He's probably right on the anastrozole. At 100 milligrams a week, you're not going to really need that. But no, I would not take the dose down. I would start at 200 milligrams and I'd be dosing it twice a week. But anyway, there are no shortage of posts like this. Here's another one. What should I expect from 200 a week of test C? A guy in the comment section goes, side effects and probably feeling shitty. And then there are 19 people, dude, 19 people that upvoted this. I've seen guys try to take their dose down via following the advice on Reddit to like 70 to 80 milligrams a week. You go down to 70, 80, 90 milligrams a week, especially if you're used to 150, 170, you're going to feel like shit. It's just really not. I mean, unless you're a 67-year-old guy that's just been hypogonadal for a while and, you know, like just 90 or 100 milligrams a week is just perfect for you. A lot of guys are going to need higher doses than that. I'm the guy that gets the people that can't dial in on TRT, specifically around libido and erections. And so in those cases, you know, we'll make a change to a short ester. We'll design a very targeted protocol based on what's happening in that particular individual. And in those cases, we can get them dialed in. But some people are just going to require high dose enanthate. Okay, let's talk about this in the context of testosterone enanthate, because I know a lot of people are using long esters, and long esters can be used very effectively, and enanthate's like one of the best esters out there. I'll get a guy to get very healthy, right? Start doing cardio, start eating better, reducing significantly the quantity of alcohol that he consumes, get him off of some prescription medications that are not doing him any good, benzos particularly, start him kind of generally on otherwise healthy habits, and then get that person used to that, and then have him run testosterone enanthate at between 250 and 300 milligrams a week. Let's just call it 300 milligrams a week. This is what I would have someone do. Every 3.5 days, pin 150 milligrams of testosterone enanthate deep intramuscular. You don't want to do that sub-Q in this particular case. You're going to want a quick absorption. You're going to want those levels to peak. You're going to want the estrogen to peak. You're kind of going to want all of that peak stuff happening, especially the DHT conversion. Every 3.5 days, deep intramuscular injection of 150 milligrams of testosterone enanthate. Now, the kind of stuff that I see when, again, people have tried everything else and they get on a protocol like that is within like a week or two. It's pretty immediate. Libido starts coming back. I mean, these guys have not gotten libido on anything. Okay. They've been on 150, 170, even on 150 milligrams a week, which is like a kind of a, you know, a good dose of testosterone. It might be for some people, but then they're running Proviron as well. Still, even with the power of Proviron and DHT, they're not getting adequate libido. In that case, I mean, they probably require higher estrogen, and Proviron is just kind of crushing the estrogen genetic expression. They just need a little more of that. But the libido comes back, the nocturnals come back, you know, the randoms come back, you know, they're interested in sex again. You know, a lot of guys report more pre-cum, which is, I don't know what the fuck that is. And they get sufficient anabolism. They have sufficient energy. They feel confident. They truly feel like you're supposed to feel on TRT. Guys will email me back or just telegram me, be like, now I feel like I'm on TRT. You know, I've been listening to this low dose, these low dose evangelists for 2 years. Some people waste years low dosing when in fact they just need higher dose TRT, man. All right, now let's talk about the reasons. All right, I'm just going to give you 5 reasons why I think that higher dose TRT is helping these guys. All right, so let's break it down from the top. Number 1, endothelial optimization. Now, the endothelium is just a layer of endothelial cell, which constitutes the inner lining of blood vessels. The endothelium, when optimized, plays a major fucking role in vascular tone and blood fluidity. Actually, endothelial cells release contracting factors, specifically nitric oxide. So both testosterone and DHT, but as well as estradiols, like all 3 of these hormones contribute to better endothelial function, vascular tone, nitric oxide production, and therein, with higher doses of testosterone via this endothelial optimization, people get better erections, people get better libido, people generally feel better. Then there's estrogen. Yeah, look, we've always discussed that a very high estrogen milieu, when high levels of DHT and testosterone are not maintained, are detrimental to erectile function. It just is. However, when high levels of DHT and adequate levels of testosterone are present, estrogen positively mediates blood flow in the penis via endothelial optimization as well as nitric oxide. It actually turns out that though you have some estrogen receptor alpha expression in the penis, you have a greater degree of estrogen receptor beta, which in penile tissues, which in this case is modifying positively nitric oxide endothelial function and it's actually regulating blood vessel function. So this is why, if you take an AI or if you take the estrogen too far, for some people, you just lose erectile quality. And well, that's because you don't have adequate maintenance of the blood vessels and blood flow function in the penis. Okay. Higher levels of testosterone are going to equal for most people, higher levels of estrogen. And because they've got this high milieu of the androgens, they can tolerate the estradiol. It's actually beneficial for them in terms of penile health. This paper is titled Evidence for a Potential Role of Estrogen in the Penis Detection of Estrogen Receptor A and Estrogen Receptor B. And the paper goes on to conclude that, the ERB receptors specifically are very responsive in the penis, and it's largely, so long as a high androgen load is maintained, it's largely beneficial. If you want to geek out on this paper, I would suggest you go read it because it actually shows the blood vessel function, the ERB, ERA, and what that catalyzes in terms of nitric oxide and endothelial function. I mean, there's all these fucking graphs on it. It's actually really interesting. So that's the first point, all right? Nitric oxide, blood vessel health, endothelial optimization. This is what you get with higher dose testosterone that you may need that you may not be getting at even 150 milligrams a week. Secondly, dihydrotestosterone conversion, all right? DHT conversion. Look, DHT in the context of a TRT protocol, in the context of healthy sexual function for males, is very critical. We've broken this down before in various different ways. People are reporting and have been reporting all around the web that Proviron really helps them on TRT, especially for really high aromatizers, that the estrogen milieu just gets way past range and then it starts to cause problems. And the most predominant thing you're going to see is stuff like this. My E-sides are totally manageable on Proviron and the dick is like a steel rod. We've been through a lot of these papers before where, like in this one, dihydrotestosterone is the active androgen in the maintenance of nitric oxide mediated penile erection in the rat. And particularly in the context of castration, DHT is the active androgen in the restoration of penile function. But I mean, it's all about hormone balance, right? You'll have ED and sexual problems on TRT if you have sky high testosterone, but not enough DHT conversion, but sky high estrogen. That's not hormone balance, right? You need kind of everything to be in the adequate ranges for you. I found, like on taking my testosterone to 3279 with a free test, like 4 times over range, is substantially fucking high, that I could tolerate higher levels of estrogen because my DHT and my testosterone is fucking sky high. Now, obviously there's a limit on that. I can't really go above 80 in that particular case, but at like 55, 60, I was fine. But again, think about this in context. High androgens, high DHT, and, in that case, elevated estradiol at least above the range. And on these numbers, I felt really good. Dihydrotestosterone, like when you're a baby, when you're in the embryo, when you're growing and developing and your sex organs are developing, your mother releases HCG. So it's HCG that gives you temporarily, when you're a baby in the womb, adult level testosterone levels. Okay. Then, those temporary adult level testosterone levels when you're a infant in your mother's womb convert via 5-alpha reductase to DHT, and DHT protects progesterone from making you a woman. That's actually true. If DHT is not there to protect that, well, you're going to have micro penis and you're going to have like female sex characteristics develop, and your male sexual characteristics are not going to develop. So, I mean, DHT is like, that's the male hormone, testosterone, male hormone. Really, DHT is 5x, 6x more powerful at the AR. It does different things in terms of gene transcription at the androgen receptor. It's very fucking powerful. And for some people, they're just going to need more DHT in their testosterone regimen, that they can achieve that with higher doses of testosterone. Third one, and this is going to be a curveball, okay, for people. Some guys need higher estrogen, okay? Some people at 150, 175, because they're very healthy. They do not drink alcohol. They do not smoke. They don't really consume a bunch of estrogenic foods. Their estrogen load is very low. Their body works very efficiently. Maybe they're making a lot of testosterone in response to their dose, but not enough estrogen in that particular case. There are people that on TRT, they're just not making enough estrogen. And look, as we discussed before, estrogen-mediated nitric oxide and endothelial optimization, specifically via estrogen receptor beta binding in the corpus cavernosa, the penile tissues, is necessary for adequate blood vessel health. Libido for sure. Okay. So if people are having problems with libido on testosterone, their libido is just low, they're usually on an AI and that's causing it, or that the AI is overdosed, or they're not on an AI, but they can't aromatize enough. Maybe they're micro injecting. You switch these guys to a higher dose, or in those cases, you switch them to once a week or even twice a week bolus injections at once. Well, then they get a higher peak of estradiol and suddenly the libido comes back. Yes, estrogen in the presence of high levels of testosterone and adequate levels of dihydrotestosterone is pretty necessary for libido. Again, when my numbers were up here in the fucking stratosphere, my libido was insatiable. I mean, utterly insatiable. I've said this before, but I have a couple anecdotals in clients where, like, I've got a guy who really only gets adequate morning wood, very strong fucking morning wood, and he's horny and the sexual system's working really well, when his estrogen's high enough to cause his nipples to be a little sensitive, just kind of itchy every now and then. Nothing obstructive or super bothersome, but itchy nipples for that guy. High enough estrogen, well, then he's got the morning wood. Again, the only way that can be explained is high levels of androgens, high levels of DHT, but also the blood vessel and endothelial optimization via estradiol, via ERB receptors in the penis. All right, so yeah, some guys are going to need higher estrogen. It's just the bottom line. You know, we've been told estrogen is the enemy, and it is in the presence of inadequate androgens. It totally is. There's all manner of studies on that. That's really where the ED studies come in with estradiol. It's like not in the presence of adequate levels of, you know, androgens, specifically super physiologic amounts of test DHT. Problem there is, you know, tolerating high estradiol might be difficult for people. You know, if your blood pressure is already kind of high because your lifestyle is really not all that optimized, you don't do cardio specifically, maybe you drink a little too much fucking booze, maybe you're smoking, all these things are going to contribute to pretty shitty blood pressure dynamics. And then estradiol, via all that extra water retention and antidiuretic hormone increases, and thus more water retention, it's going to cause you to have higher levels of blood pressure, and that's going to be problematic. So again, one major point I want to make is to tolerate higher levels of testosterone, which you might fucking need, gonna have to get substantially healthy. Getting on TRT is a life-changing thing, right? It's pushing you in the direction of longevity, energy, health. In order for that experience to be good, you kind of have to cohesively like make your body healthier. All right. So for some people, they're just going to require a higher estrogen milieu in conjunction with higher levels of androgens, specifically test and DHT. As I alluded to earlier, now, fourth reason, look, exogenous test is not akin to your endogenous testosterone. It just isn't. Like when I was a natural and my testosterone levels were like 600, 700 nanograms per deciliter, I was a fucking walking boner. You know, when you're a teenager, you really don't have super physiologic levels of test. Even when you're 20, you're looking at between 600 and 800. Yeah. And then like in those cases, younger men with those levels have frequent erections, morning erections, like they want to fucking jerk off all the time, like they're horny a lot. Yeah, that's just mid-level levels of testosterone. But we've known since the 60s or so that with testosterone replacement therapy, you need to be above 800 nanograms per deciliter. Why is that? Exogenous testosterone is not akin in terms of strength, power, or metabolite production. Again, you shut down DHEA, pregnenolone to an extent. You shut down neurosteroids to an extent. It's just not the same thing as your inborn endogenous testosterone. It's actually much more powerful when the system is intact with your endogenous testosterone. So you may need in that regard 250, 300 milligrams of testosterone, enanthate in this case, a week split up into 2 injections, 150 on Monday and then 150 on Thursday, in order to fully get, you know, the benefits of testosterone. Lastly, neurotransmitter health. Okay, now look, testosterone revitalizes people's moods when they go on TRT. Their energy, their anxiety reduces, they have more confidence, they feel happier. People are generally a lot more fucking happy with the right dose of testosterone. I mean, this changes a person's outlook, their propensity to be productive, their fucking happiness throughout the day, outlook on life, all these positive things. And a good degree of why that happens is direct action on neurotransmitters. Testosterone and DHT have predominantly dopaminergic enhancing properties, while estradiol has serotonergic enhancing properties. And yes, as the serotonin past a certain threshold is problematic, it's prolactogenic, it may be inhibitory to dopamine neurons, which inhibits libido, but the right amount of estrogen and the right amount of serotonin neurotransmitter signaling is actually fucking paramount for you to be in a happy mood, to feel productive, to feel good, and to generally not be depressed. Dopamine, you're increasing tyrosine hydroxylase, you're increasing, therefore, dopamine synthesis, you're actually increasing dopamine region-specific firing in the brain, especially around limbic areas, which are, you know, implicated in libido. So the level of neurotransmitter optimization that you may need, particularly if you were starved of neurotransmitters for a long time, if somehow because of you were hypogonadal or just had suboptimal testosterone or whatever was in your history, you've not been making neurotransmitters adequately, this is why your mood is shitty. This is why you're not happy. This is why you can't get shit done in life. You get on testosterone, and particularly in these cases, some guys, after being in that deficient state for a while, are going to need higher levels of testosterone changes the whole game. You know, now you have adequate serotonin binding, serotonin receptor activity from estrogen. Now you have adequate dopamine synthesis, adequate dopamine signaling. Now you generally fire and feel better in terms of neurotransmitters. And for some guys, are just going to require higher doses of testosterone to reach that threshold where they really feel fucking good. Okay, so yeah, look, although there are low-dose TRT evangelists on Reddit, I think a good degree of the reason that is because you've got unhealthy people that can't tolerate what they need, and so it's like they hedge a bit. So fine, I'll go down to 120 a week, therefore the estradiol is not substantially high and I don't have all these blood pressure issues or whatever. Yes, they take a giant hit on anabolism, they take a giant hit on general energy. The sexual function's not even really super optimal. Erections might be better at that ratio, you know, for that individual, but ultimately you could scale that ratio up and get that same ratio, but just in a more anabolic way and having more energy and more neurotransmitters, and then you're going to feel better. But these people, because they're not healthy enough, you know, and they don't know what other things that they may need to supplement with TRT, like DHEA as an example. Obviously all the health optimization stuff, cardio sounds so like rudimentary, but if you start running, your crit's going to go down, your blood pressure is going to go down. Like, you're going to fucking revitalize your health just from jogging. That's why this whole stigma around high testosterone exists, where people are calling 250, 300 a cycle. It's horseshit. I'm on 280. I'm not, you know, of test props, 70 every other day, you know, now running some Proviron. I am not on a cycle. I've been on higher doses than that before. Look, with cream and some prop, I shot my total testosterone up to 3,000. Yeah, that's considered, you know, a medium level cycle. That's like kind of pushing steroid cycle territory. I'm not staying there. It was interesting while I was there. But 280 a week for me is that's just not a cycle. Don't let people make you feel bad for going to high levels of testosterone. You might need to just run your long ester, particularly ananthate, twice weekly at 150 each, or maybe 125 each injection. And therein, finally, because of all this stuff, the endothelial optimization, the DHT, some people are going to need higher estradiol, better neurotransmitter profile. The exogenous test, you might need more of it than your endogenous testosterone to get the right effects. Therein, people are going to go, oh, fuck, this is TRT. Torque Stack right now is buy one, get one free. This is my nootropic stack that I built. I take it pretty frequently, and some of the highest performing people in our client base, they have torque in their regimen. Some of these people that are performing 10 hours, 15 hours a day, high level cognitive function, motivation, and brain energy, they've got help, okay? And torque is one of the most powerful stacks for energy and brain performance, all right? It's a high level nootropic that is now buy one, get one free right now. The code for that is TorqueBOGO. You can find the code and the link down in the description of this video. If you want to support the channel, go buy a bottle, but importantly, you're going to love it. So go buy Torque while it's cheap, while it's buy one, get one free right now. Look, I've seen everything under the sun regarding TRT, neurotransmitter optimization, sexual function, libido optimization, erectile dysfunction. And, you know, those are primarily my specialties. If you need to hire me and you've got the budget, please do so. We are changing guys' lives. Full-on protocol design, full-on neurotransmitter restoration, full-on libido optimization, full-on erectile function restoration, a host of other things. You can hire me in under a minute for a variety of different packages at livecortex.com. It only takes about a minute. And I'm not one of those coaches that reaches out to you 5 days later. Or you book, you're getting an email from me the next day or that day. All right, brother. It's been epic hanging out with you. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you have a great day. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week. More content coming soon. Please sub to the channel. It makes a huge difference. Like the video, it costs nothing, and it makes a significant impact on this channel. All right, rock on, kick ass, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.